I believe now I'm live. Hello everyone, it's Carl here from Games, Brains and Headbang Live, gbhbl.com for short. First time doing this, first time we've ever decided to go live to talk about stuff, talk about horror, to talk about Evil Dead Rise, which I am about 45 minutes in from having seen, so it's still very fresh in the memory. I'm going to avoid spoilers though. When I talk to you about it, I'm going to avoid spoilers. I'm not going to be recapping the story or anything like that. It's simply a matter of, hey, cool, saw Evil Dead Rise, this is what I thought, and so on. Got these given out as well. Yeah, because it was like a preview at the Prince Charles in London. If you know that cinema, the Prince Charles Cinema, it's a little bit off Leicester Square, next to a church, just up from all the big cinemas, the Odeon and all that, and quite a niche place, tends to show events more than anything else. You can see, you know, you wouldn't necessarily go there if you want to see the John Wicks and the likes of that. So tonight they were doing two preview screenings of Evil Dead Rise, one earlier on in the evening and one that I went to that was at 9:15. Both had sold out very, very quickly. In fact, by the time I saw it pop up, because I know I follow the information, there was only a handful of seats left in the second screen. I managed to get two last minute for me and the wife. And yeah, so that's where we were. Going into this, I don't know what I expected. I mean, it's Evil Dead. I've always enjoyed the franchise. It's a lot of fun. It's an interesting franchise. It's one for my youth, going all the way back to, of course, the first movie. Obviously, when I was young, it was the second movie more than anything else that I enjoyed. Evil Dead 2 with the slapstick comedy and that level of entertainment. It appealed to my young side, and I was a huge fan of Army of Darkness as a youngster as well. Not as much as when I grew up. I found it sometimes to be a little bit too much in the comedy direction over the horror, but I can still thoroughly enjoy that aspect too. I even like the remake, the 2013 Evil Dead remake was a lot of fun as well. You know, it was a good remake, which was fucking rare, to be honest, you know, to actually get something that interesting. So when I saw this pop up, and I didn't really pay that much attention initially. I think I saw the poster and saw Evil Dead Rise, and I think by the poster I was like, "Oh, is this like the one with the building?" If you saw that poster, I was like, "Oh, is this like a Evil Dead in a tower block kind of thing?" I remember saying to my wife, "Isn't this just like ripping off Demons 2? You know, the 1986 Demons 2 Bava movie?" And it's kind of like, "Oh, okay, right. Well, we'll see." And actually ended up seeing the trailer before Scream 6. A few months, a couple of weeks ago, about a month ago. I knew there was a trailer out, but I wasn't going to watch. I was just going to wait. So I saw the trailer before Scream 6, and I really liked it. I thought, like I do a lot of the times with a lot of horror movies, that it was just showing me too much. But now, having seen the film, I actually think the trailer really does a great job of, look, making it clear, Deadites. It's an Evil Dead movie. You've got this mother that's going to be taken over by one of them, and you know it's going to take place in this apartment block, and her family, her children and sister, and how they deal with it. Without going, like I said, I'm going to try my hardest to avoid spoilers here, but it is so much more than that. It is very Evil Dead. I hope that makes sense in regards to what they do here, in regards to what they show you. That trailer is not reflective of the final film. All of the stuff you see in the trailer is in there, but also it makes a lot more sense in context. On context, of course, as you would expect. You know, there's scenes in the trailer you're like, well, what's that about? Here you see why, and so on. This preview screening had an introduction by the writer-director, which is Lee Cronin. A name I wasn't familiar with. Actually, I walked straight past him at the entrance door without knowing for a second who he was. It was only when, oh, okay, he's taken to the stage now. That's who he was. So he introduced the film, and after it, he was going to do a director Q&A. Didn't stay around for that. Didn't have time. He was getting quite late. Need to get back from London. Get home as well. Wife has work tomorrow, and so do I. But I did want to talk about the movie overall. And it's as simple as this. I loved it. I really did. I don't know what, I go back to the thing I said, I don't know what I expected. I don't think I had much expectations at all. Like with all horror movies, I just hope it at least keeps my attention engaging. You know, afterwards you're going to nitpick it. You're going to talk about it, you're going to break it apart, and you're going to then find flaws and little things that maybe you didn't quite enjoy as much. And that is still the case here. There are few little things here and there where I'm like, okay, I don't really care for that part and so on. If you've seen the movie, when you do see the movie, I would argue that the beginning and the end do not need to exist in this movie. That wouldn't necessarily do the film any harm, but that's by the by. The opening 5 to 10 minutes of this movie, I think, is designed to shock and get you right in it and go, okay, this film isn't afraid to push the boundaries of horror. And that's my biggest takeaway. I was generally quite surprised by how far this movie goes in regards to gore and stuff it shows and what it does. I see I'm trying to dance around spoilers here. I was really, really surprised by it, but in a really, really positive way, in a way that I was like, oh, they keep upping the ante. They keep doing this. They keep pushing this. They keep doing that. Oh, now what are they going to do? Oh, they're going to do this. Wow, they did that as well. And it's all got a level of familiarity in regards to the Evil Dead in general, but it also has some fresh ideas. There is a really, really cool thing in this movie that you do not want spoiled for you in the slightest. I won't be doing it here, but it's a new, fresh, interesting idea that's done brilliantly and revealed in a great, great way. I'd love to see people's reactions to that and what they think of that. It's really, really, really impressive stuff. But alongside all of that, alongside all the uber violence and uber gore, and there's so much of it, there's so much blood in this. It's on par with 2013. You know, Evil Dead in 2013, the remake, was quite a gory ass movie. This is on par, if not more bloody. On par. Let's say on par, because I'm kind of thinking about the remake and I'm thinking about the end of the remake as well and all that. But the difference was that was a remake that was redoing Evil Dead. All right, it was a fresh take in it and, you know, had new ideas, but it was Evil Dead remake regardless. This isn't. This is a sequel. Now, that's an interesting thing, I think, because I was expecting a shitload more callbacks, a lot more references. But also, I was thinking, how the hell are they going to tie this into? Are they going to bother trying to tie it into the lore of the original? Are they going to connect it up to events that occurred in the first and so on? I'm not going to say they do or don't, because I said I'm trying to avoid spoilers, but they come up with an idea here that I think really, really worked well, but also opens up the world of Evil Dead to the future, to potentially more movies. It's going to obviously need to be successful. It's going to have to earn money. I feel like it may do. I mean, the reviews that are coming out now for it, what people are talking about, conversations had, everyone sort of seems to be saying the same thing. This is a lot of fun. And it is a lot of fun. It has slapstick comedy in it. There are moments that will make you laugh. In the theater, in the cinema that I was in, there was a lot of nervous laughter as well, particularly at points that I didn't necessarily want. I was like, what's the wife? Why are they laughing? What's particularly funny about this scene? You know, this is supposed to be harrowing. And I do sometimes find it distracting because it kind of means you can't quite get in, you know, you can't be surrounded by the horror. You can't feel it. You can't take it all in. And there was a particular scene that I thought was designed to be quite harrowing and quite horrible. That was for some reason getting a lot of laughs. I'm not entirely sure why that is. You know, I'm not sitting there being, why are people laughing? They take their own thing from it. I guess that's always the difference between seeing a movie in the theaters and cinema compared to watching at home on your own. The experience is always going to be very, very different, and that was the case here. But it didn't ruin my enjoyment of it. You know, the slapstick comedy elements, they aren't so egregious, or they're not so constant that they distract from the horror of the movie. When they come, they kind of fit. There's elements of Evil Dead 2 in that, but it's not as much as Evil Dead 2. This is predominantly a horror movie. And a lot of reason why that works so fucking well is because it has fantastic characters. It's a really focused cast. Elisa Sutherland, Lily Sullivan, Morgan Davis, Nell Fisher, and Gabrielle Echolis are definitely the people. Like, that's the main cast, and they're the people that it predominantly focuses on. You know, the family, mother, 3 kids, 2 teenagers, one very young, maybe about 8, 9, maybe a little bit younger than that, and a sister that comes to stay. Obviously, the story surrounding that is detailed at the start of the movie. It's quite snappy as well. It doesn't really overdo it. We have to get the sister there. We have to get Beth there. So they kind of move quite fast and get her there in a simple, straightforward way. And then we move on and elements like that. What was really cool about that is the dynamic in the family. It's all very believable. It's all quite relatable as well. Who they are, what the roles in the family are. And I got the impression that regardless of the issues that they exist in their family, they do love each other. I'm going to take a quick sip of this coffee now. I'm holding it like I want to have a drink, but I don't want to stop talking, don't want to leave any silences in this live stream. So, excuse me. Oh, that's the problem with a moustache. This thick is that drinking anything like coffee, you get a fucking load of foam in your tash. So I really like the family. I really did. And that just ends up enhancing to me that what they go through in this film feels a lot more brutal, a lot more harrowing. I can't stress this enough. There's a lot of moments in this movie where you may find yourself quite shocked and almost forget, because it's been a decade since we've had an Evil Dead movie. It's been 10 years since we had a remake. It's been even longer since we had anything that was in the sort of order of the franchise, because that's what we've got now, is a franchise. So it is incredible that we've kind of, got this now in itself, to fact this decade later. Who was thinking that there'll be a new Evil Dead movie? But the fact that it's still able to surprise and still shock was really, really delightful. The fact that I almost went in, and particularly the early portions of the movie, not necessarily the intro, because that's a different thing, but the early portions, I thought, oh God, like, it feels like it could just be another possession movie, and we've had so many of them that I've forgotten what the Evil Dead is and what its demonic presences are. That there is, I think, that's more than enough. I think I need to say regarding that. Remember what they are. Remember what they do. Remember what they're capable of. And you'll get an idea of where this film is going to go. It is true to the franchise. This is not nice a lot of the time. It is incredibly over the top by the end, but in a really, really fun way, and a horrible, harrowing experience it is too. All pretty much. No, bear in mind, there was one or two notable CGI effects, I think. One with a decapitated head, and another with an eyeball that I noticed were CGI, but they were more than fine and passable. But everything else looks to be practical effects, and considering how this movie ends, that is incredible. And the effects are amazing. Of course, we are champions of practical effects over CGI, and what we see here is incredibly well done. There's so much blood at the end. There is so much blood. As you can tell, I had a blast watching it. I really want to have a discussion, maybe I'll redo this when the movie's out, and we'll do spoilers there, because I really want to talk about certain aspects that I just absolutely love that I don't want to spoil for you. It's as simple as that. I want you to see this movie. I want this movie to be successful. I want to see this director and this writer have another go, going and, not have another go, continue this. It feels like there's more to be told here, particularly when it comes to the Evil Dead aspects, the lore, the greater picture of how we even get to Deadites and the issues in this film. Think about that. That's something the trailer touches upon, but certainly doesn't show you. Here you get an explanation and a lot more detail, and it's all very, very interesting and cleverly dances around the sort of open and shut book part of the original films. Here we get an expansion on that with room for more going from. There are callbacks. Of course, there are callbacks. There are references in this throughout. Some are subtle, some are more obvious. You will get to hear certain lines of dialogue, ones that you might have wanted to hear, but you won't hear, thankfully, because it didn't fit. I remember on the way back saying to my wife, I'm so glad they didn't have anybody say the line groovy. At least I don't think they did. I certainly didn't hear him saying it. I'm so glad they didn't do that, because that it didn't fit the movie. It didn't feel like that. It didn't have that aspect. So they didn't, as far as I could tell, unless it was thrown in randomly and I wasn't paying attention. Actually, it did pop out to use the loo for like 2 minutes, so maybe they said it there. But there are other lines of dialogue, Dead by Dawn, Will Swallow Your Soul, all done really, really well during it, as well as other references here and there. A lot of it is just fan service more than anything else. I don't think there was anything that will make you go, roll, nothing eye rolling. There's nothing to make you roll your eyes. So you've got that to enjoy. But I am excited. I'm excited to see this movie do well. It's a good time for horror at the moment. It seems like we might finally maybe be moving away from see, I said this to my wife on the way up. I feel like we might be moving away from the lengthy paranormal possession cycle that we've been in. The constant, oh, someone's been possessed. Oh, some ghost going boo in the night. But then ahead of Scream 6, I also saw a trailer for The Pope's Exorcist starring Russell Crowe. And that made me roll my eyes because I swear to Christ, we've seen these movies done before. And yeah, it might be good. It might have some new things going on. It might be fun or whatever. But I'm just tired of that. So with Scream 6 having such great success, although again, it's hard for me to get too excited about that one's success because it's the sixth film in a franchise. And I had my own issues with Scream 6. I did like it. That's not me criticizing it. I did like it a lot. There was some stuff I absolutely loved in it. But now with this making waves, and when it's got its full theatrical release, which is what, the 22nd or 23rd, something around that. I can't remember. 21st of April. So that's at the time of recording, just over a week away. I hope it does well. Go see it. Go check it out. You're going to have a lot of fun. And this, I think, will work for people because you can watch this movie without knowing the Evil Dead franchise at all. And you're going to see an intense... I almost would love to watch this, right, with someone who has never seen an Evil Dead movie, who has no idea what they are, no idea what they contain, and see what they think, and just probably watch them instead of watching the movie, because I'd imagine there might be some mouths open in that regard. I do think, of course, if you watch a lot of horror movies, you might be a little desensitized to some of the elements of it, some of the massive amounts of gore, because of course you'll be. I know I am. It would be nice sometimes to be able to see something with fresh eyes, but that just isn't the case. But even I enjoyed and was surprised by how much gore and violence and unique violence as well. Some really cleverly done stuff. Even I was quite amazed by that as well. And I watch a lot of fucking horror, so that was cool. But I'd definitely like to see people's reaction to it. Yeah, I think that's about it. That's about all I'm going to say about Evil Dead Rise. It's worth seeing. It really is. It really is worth seeing. Don't go anywhere yet. I'm not done. Although saying that, I'm literally talking to myself. First time doing this, not particularly expecting anybody to tune in. I've seen a number pop up once or twice. I have no idea how well this is coming across. The idea was to start doing this, start regularly talking about horror in sort of live stream format as well, and then for it to be there to watch back. That's the kind of hope. I'm now going to talk about a few other things that I wanted to sort of mention because I don't just want this to be one film focused, although the predominantly wanted to focus on the Evil Dead Rise in this. I kind of want to talk about other stuff as well in regards to horror, recent things, as well as giving you ending with basically a recommendation of a recent horror movie I might have checked out and maybe you've never seen, and go check this one out because I liked it, or it's got this going on, and so on. Totally opposite end, but talking about tied into success as well. Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. You've heard of it. You might have even seen it. It's there to see and rent on streaming. So you may have already done it based off the buzz around it. Quite an incredible amount of buzz. A buzz that I took with a massive pinch of salt. This is where I kind of get to be a little bit nerdy about it. I didn't get it. I didn't get the buzz around it because I saw who was involved. The production company, Jagged Edge Productions, is someone I'm very familiar with. We reviewed a lot of their movies, and it is incredibly hit and miss. It seems to churn out these movies, style of movies, in quick, low-budget British horrors that don't seem to take a lot of effort, but often have a lot of good stuff in them, either maybe a really strong cast. In fact, I will praise Jagged Edge Productions for constantly having a good rotation of cast members, having some great cinematographers. Sometimes their movies look fantastic, and I would say Blood and Honey looks great as well as strong music and all that. But often its biggest problems are its story, its budgetary issues surrounding effects and violence and gore and elements like that. So I approached this movie with a certain level of trepidation. I was going to say trepanation. It's a very different thing. Trepidation. But we're a horror movie review site. We want to get as much modern stuff up as possible, particularly if everybody's talking about it. So, of course, first opportunity we took, we went and watched it. Well, I went and watched it. And yeah, it was exactly what I thought it was going to be. I didn't think it was a good movie. I thought it was better than some of the other stuff I'd seen from Jagged Edge Productions, as well as ITN Studios. She mentioned them as well. I know a production company we're quite familiar with. So it was fun in places. The whole Winnie the Pooh piglet killer thing was interesting. I think it's being sold in a way that may not be reflective of what it actually is, because of course copyright still exists for the Disney version of Winnie the Pooh. So of course there's elements like that. There are moments in the movie where I think they're like, make you go, huh? I'll throw one out there. Pooh can drive? Winnie the Pooh can drive? What? And that's my biggest problem with the movie, is that after a certain point, I think it stops feeling like a sort of like fun take on these anthropomorphic animals and just becomes a killers and masks, if that makes sense. I'm not going to review the movie. I'm not going to recap it. It's on the site. Go read it. I'm just bringing it up because I do want you to check out soon. I've just recently done an interview with one of the stars of the movies, Amber Doig Thorne. I really struggle to say her last name. It's D-O-I-G, Thorne. Plays Alice in it. Major role, major character. Has a very, very important scene in it. No spoilers, but if you watch the interview, that will be spoiled for you. I will warn you now that the interview has spoilers. We did talk about a few things in particular, but I won't mention them here. But so she has some significant stuff. But also, she's an actor who I've seen in a lot of stuff, a lot of Jagged Edge productions. In fact, again, in the interview, we talk about some of them. And I admire her, and I've got a lot of respect for her. And I do want you to check this interview because she's really, really lovely to talk to, but also she's honest. That was so cool. Didn't expect that. You know, she's here to promote the movie. I'm here to try and promote it as well to a certain degree. And ultimately, I'm never going to throw any hardball questions in the sense, well, I'm going to start ranting and raving about how I didn't like something or whatever. There were, in the interview, there are questions. I'm not going to sit there and lie. So I'm not going to word questions and say like, oh yeah, I thought the movie was phenomenal. I didn't. That's in the written review. In fact, there's a video review in the channel as well. I tell you the exact same thing. But we end up talking about reviews and opinions and perhaps some of the things that she wasn't particularly happy with, particularly when she saw the final product. So that's really worth checking out. The fact that she was honest, while also being incredibly positive and enthusiastic about what she's done in this movie and what her next path is, I thought was amazing. I do want you to check it out. It'll be up on the new YouTube channel in the next week, if not earlier, hopefully a couple of days next week, depends when I get the time to actually sit there and tidy it up, add the edits and stuff like that. So yeah, and the last thing I want to talk about is, as I said a few minutes ago, a recommendation. So I've been coming in from work, working late at the moment, and late for me is 3 p.m. to 11 p.m. So we get home about 11:30, you know, thank you for that late at night, drive's nice and easy, 35 minute drive. So we're getting in, chilling out, doing some work on the computer and putting a movie on my iPad, kind of in the background. Random. I am not being picky here. I'm going through Prime and I'm going through the horror sections and I'm flicking and stopping my finger and then going, right, that's one. There you go. That's kind of how I'm operating at the moment. It's why you see so many random reviews on the website. It's because it's how I operate. It's just random. If I can't be picky about it, I can't sit there and start reading descriptions and reviews and things like that. It just won't do me any favors. I don't judge on covers, although sometimes they can be eye-grabbing. I just choose one at random. So I've had that all week. That's pretty much been this entire week. And it's been a mixed bag. I can actually tell you, I've got my phone here, what I've actually seen in regards to the mixed bag. Flick to the section where I've been listing them. Yeah, so I've done a zombie, which is, yeah, this is a Middle Eastern zombie movie, basically, that's selling Osama. It's Bin Laden as a zombie. Yeah, you heard that right. You might have seen the cover and thought, no. Yeah, that actually exists. Yeah, that review will be going soon. The Attic, which is like a 2003 movie that's ghostly goings on. It's interesting, you know, that kind of thing. Infernum, I watched it with my wife. I was actually about 2 weeks ago. It's a found footage mockumentary style one. Mockumentaries are some of my favorite types of horror. But it's not really got much going on in that either. Pretty boring. Terror Trips could have been good. It's about a company, a startup company that wants to do trips, horror trips to places of horror. So basically like, oh, let's go to Michael Myers' house. Obviously it doesn't exist anymore. Let's go here and so on. But to do that, they use a fake film inside this film to visit a foreign country, and then trouble happens from there. Central Park, that's about a killer hunting some people in Central Park. It's a more nuanced story than that. That's not too bad. The Soul Tangler, what the hell is the Soul Tangler? I know I watched the Soul Tangler. Oh, that's that super low budget, really uber low budget one about a mad doctor who has looks like it was filmed on like a phone, and you know, with extreme gore near the end, but that kind of cheap looking gore. Paint in the Blood was a good one. Paint in the Blood was a good movie about a painter who finds he works at a gallery which has a painting by an artist that killed himself, and it might be possessed, and it promises him like, I'll make you a great painter and stuff like that. And that's what he does. And obviously it's a demon, you know, so you can't trust a demon. Rats Not in Terror, old movie about sort of decayed world. 1 second. Painted in Blood. I already said about Painted in Blood. Rats Not in Terror. Yeah, it's rats. It's like dystopian world. These sort of survivors of the nuclear holocaust end up finding like a little bunker area, but it's filled with rats. Pretty boring. Blackstock Boneyard. Is that what it was called? I feel like I might have written that one down. Blackstock Boneyard. No, it was called that. That's about two men who were wrongly accused of a crime and then hung, who come back from the grave to get their revenge. Valley of the Sasquatch, exactly what it sounds like. The Haunting of Grady Farm, exactly what it sounds like. And the other, I've been working my way through the Brotherhood movies. So I've done Brotherhood 2, Young Warlocks, Brotherhood 3, Young Demons, and Brotherhood 4, The Complex, of course. But what I want to talk about, when I wrap the stream up, is Nightmare at the End of the Hall. A random choice that I generally ended up enjoying. And it's considering it's supernatural, I was surprised how engaged I was by it. It's a TV movie from 2008. And I knew it was a TV movie watching it because it had these sort of end of part fade out. I was like, huh, that's weird. It's weird. No one does transitions like that. And I was like, huh, is this because it would normally go end of like to adverts here? And obviously that would have got to be the case. It was directed by George Mendeluk. I haven't actually looked at the details on IMDb up to this point. Yeah, George Mendeluk with a writer as Nora Zuckerman and stars Sarah Rue, Duncan Rieger, Cavan Smith, and a few others. And it's basically it's a young girl kills herself at school, and then 20 years later her best friend ends up working at the school, and paranormal events start to occur. One of the girls in the class happens to look quite like her friend, and she starts to wonder, has she gone crazy? Is it her friend come back from the grave to punish her or show her something? And elements like that. I know it all sounds so familiar. And it is. It's not doing anything unique in that. But what's really engaging about it is that it's got a really strong cast with some really strong chemistry. But it also doesn't necessarily go in the direction I was expecting. It has some clever twists along the way that I ended up thoroughly enjoying and being like, oh, okay, there's one. It's like a double twist. It's like one that you can see coming, because it builds up to it throughout the movie. And then you're like, okay, that's cool. I just want confirmation of what I thought. But then it throws in the second one. And that one, you kind of get a minute or two before it's revealed. But obviously at the time, we're like, oh, okay. This was a real nice surprise. It was a good paranormal horror with a good story and a strong cast. I enjoyed it. So do urge you to check that one out. That's my recommendation for this stream. Lastly, if you drop this, I had this at the Evil Dead Rise premiere. It was like my wife was like, oh, buy that, try that, because obviously they can, and the Beetlejuice reference and so on. Bonfire Toffee Milk Stout. Doesn't sound great, does it? And the initial taste, I was like, oh no, this is not good. This is not good, especially as it's sweet, smooth, and decadent, and 5.0%. And it kind of tasted like vanilla, and then left me with a little bit of an aftertaste for vinegar. But then as it sort of stayed, I ended up really liking it, and I found I kept sipping it and sipping it and sipping it. It turned out to be really moreish. I don't think I could drink like 3 or 4 of them in a row, but it's not a bad drink if you kind of like that sweet stout taste. We're coming up to 30 minutes. I think that's all I'm going to talk about. Thank you for watching this, for checking it out. Hopefully you'll come back in the future. Hopefully you'll check out more streams we do, and hopefully you will share your thoughts on Evil Dead Rise. I'll catch you next time.